Okay, have you ever walked through the supermarket? You glance at one of those digital price tags, and you get this weird feeling like, did that price just change because I looked at it?
It's a thought that's crossed a few minds, I bet.
Right. Well, here on the Deep Dive, that's kind of what we do. We take a bunch of curated sources and try to pull out the really crucial insights, the surprising stuff, to help you make sense of what's going on.
And today we're drawing from a snapshot dated July 22, 2025. It's all aggregated by consumers.app, specifically from their Consumers 360 series.
Yeah, it's a great way to get a handle on consumer trends and, things impacting our daily lives.
Think of it as a shortcut, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your shortcut to being genuinely clued in on stuff that matters, from groceries to, well, bigger global shifts. Let's get into it.
Go.
So starting with that supermarket thought, our first big headline comes via physis.org on msn.com. It says, fears of supermarket surge pricing with electronic shelf labels debunked.
Ah, yes, the surge pricing panic.
Right, that idea of like Uber pricing but for your broccoli, was that ever a real thing we needed to worry about? And what are these electronic labels really?
It's a natural worry, for sure. But the research seems pretty clear on this one. These electronic shelf labels, or ESLs, they're just digital price tags.
Okay.
They let stores change prices instantly, remotely.
Mm-hmm.
Good for accuracy, good for saving time. And a big study, this one from UC Rowdy School of Management, it looked into it and basically said, no, supermarkets are not doing that kind of dynamic surge pricing.
Oh.
The kind where the price jumps just because it's busy. So, yeah, those specific fears seem debunked.
Well, that's a bit of a relief, but then why are stores investing in them? If not surge pricing, what's the real advantage for them? Is there some other kind of pricing shift happening?
Yeah, good question. The benefits are actually pretty significant, even without surge pricing. Think about labor costs, no more manually changing paper tags. That's huge. Plus, much better pricing accuracy, fewer errors at the checkout. And while they aren't doing moment-by-moment surging, ESLs do give them the ability to be more, let's say, strategic.
Strategic how?
Well, like adjusting prices based on stock levels, or maybe if something's nearing its expiration date, or for running quick promotions. It's more about efficiency and reducing waste than charging you more just because you walked by.
I see. So it's optimization.
Pretty much. But it's not all smooth sailing. The initial cost of this tech is pretty high.
I bet.
And you still get some consumer skepticism, right? Even if the surge pricing fear isn't founded, people see prices changing fast and get wary. Plus, integrating these systems, the algorithms, it's complex stuff.
So how do they manage that balance? Staying competitive on price, but also making a profit, especially with these new tools?
It's definitely evolved. Pricing isn't just fixed anymore. It's dynamic, but in a broader sense. They use massive amounts of data.
Data analytics?
Exactly. Supply chain efficiency, economies of scale, competitor pricing, consumer behavior. They factor all that in. ESLs just let them react faster to those factors. It's about the long game, staying profitable without scaring customers away.
So knowing this, does the idea of dynamic pricing still feel a bit iffy? Or do the efficiency and waste reduction aspects maybe outweigh those concerns for you? It's definitely more nuanced than just they're trying to rip us off.
It is. It's worth thinking about.
Okay, let's switch gears from shelf prices to what we actually put in our carts and our bodies. Next headline, this one's from the Times of India on msn.com. Plant protein versus animal protein, which provides more strength and nutrition.
The great protein debate. Always relevant.
Totally, especially with plant-based diets being so much more mainstream now. If you're thinking about your protein sources, what's the biggest question mark for you?
Well, the fundamental difference really comes down to amino acids, the building blocks of protein. Animal proteins, meat, dairy, eggs. They generally have all 9 essential amino acids, the ones our bodies can't make, so they're complete.
Okay.
Most plant proteins on their own are missing 1 or more. Like beans might be low in methionine, rice might be low in lysine.
So you have to mix and match.
Exactly. That's the key. Combining different plant sources throughout the day, like the classic beans and rice example, gives you that full profile. It's not necessarily harder, just requires a bit of awareness.
And what about things like tofu or tempeh compared to, say, chicken?
They're fantastic protein sources, really good. They might be a bit lower in some specific amino acids than meat, but they bring other things to the table.
Like what?
Lots of fiber, vitamins, minerals, and generally much lower in saturated fat and cholesterol.
Yeah.
Big plus for heart health.
Okay, that makes sense. What about strength and bone health? That's often linked to animal protein, especially dairy.
Yeah. That's a common association. But some really interesting research is challenging that. There was a preclinical study, so not in humans yet, but indicative showing that plant proteins like soy and chickpeas could support bone growth just as well as casein, which is milk protein.
Really? As well as milk protein?
Comparably, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Spirulina was the exception in that particular study, but soy and chickpea held up. It suggests that, the idea that you need animal protein for strong bones might be outdated. Careful planning with plant sources seems to work.
That's pretty significant. Are there any downsides then to relying mainly on plants for protein?
Well, the main things are ensuring you get that complete amino acid mix, like we said. And sometimes plant proteins can be slightly less digestible than animal ones.
Meaning you might not absorb quite as much?
Potentially, yeah. But again, good planning, varied diet, cooking methods can all help. And we're seeing cool innovations too, like ways to encapsulate plant proteins to maybe improve how they're delivered in food.
Interesting. And it's not just plants versus animals anymore, is it? We hear about insect protein, algae.
Right. Those alternative proteins are definitely gaining traction. Early research suggests they could be nutritionally comparable too. So the landscape is really broadening.
So, with all this info, how might you rethink your own plate? Balancing personal health, maybe planetary health too? Lots to consider.
Definitely.
All right, next up, something super practical. Listening to your own body. This headline's from CNET via msn.com. Feeling off. These 8 body cues might be nutritional SOS signals.
Oh, this is crucial. Our bodies are constantly sending signals, aren't they?
If we tune in, yeah. And often it's about what we're eating or not eating. What are some key signals mentioned here?
Well, one really big one they highlight is vitamin B12 deficiency. The symptoms can be kind of vague sometimes, which is tricky.
Like what?
Things like feeling really tired all the time, headaches, maybe looking pale, but it can get more serious memory issues, problems with balance or coordination, neurological stuff.
Wow. How do you know for sure if it's B12?
Usually a blood test. They check your B12 levels and sometimes another marker called methylmalonic acid. If you are deficient, treatment is typically supplements, sometimes high dose, maybe even injections if absorption is an issue.
Okay. What else? Any other major players?
Vitamin D is another huge one, very common deficiency, often down to not enough sun exposure, especially in some climates, or not getting enough from diet. And it's vital for bones because it helps us absorb calcium.
Right.
And there's an interesting link highlighted in one study they mentioned. It found that people with celiac disease who also had something called autoimmune polyglandular syndrome, or APS, well, over half of them, 52%, were deficient in vitamin D.
So a strong link between autoimmune issues and vitamin D levels.
It definitely suggests a connection there, yeah.
Yes.
It shows how interconnected our body systems are.
Going back to B12 for a second, who's most at risk for that deficiency?
Several groups. People with conditions that affect nutrient absorption in the gut, older adults sometimes, also certain medications can interfere with it, and definitely people on strict vegetarian or vegan diets, since B12 is mostly an animal product.
So vegans really need to supplement or eat fortified foods.
Absolutely crucial, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the long-term consequences of deficiency, if it's left untreated, are really serious. We're talking potential irreversible nerve damage, a type of anemia called megaloblastic anemia, even issues with heart function.
Yikes. Okay, definitely worth paying attention to those body cues then. Fatigue isn't always just being tired.
Not at all.
Knowing these signals, maybe it prompts you to think, am I getting everything I need? What small changes could make a difference?
Good questions to ask.
Okay, let's move to an ingredient that's, well, pretty much everywhere. Sugar. Specifically, cane sugar. Title from MSN. Cane sugar. What is it and where can you already find it?
Sugar. Can't escape it.
Pretty much. But how much do we actually know about it? Where it comes from, its journey, its impact?
Well, chemically, the sugar we usually mean is sucrose. It's a simple carbohydrate made of glucose and fructose linked together.
And it comes from?
Primarily 2 plants. Sugar cane, which loves tropical climates, and sugar beet, which grows in cooler regions. For sugar cane, they crush the stalks, extract the juice, then purify and crystallize it to get that white stuff we know. Sugar beets are processed a bit differently, but end up as the same pure sucrose.
And sugarcane has quite a history, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. A massive history. It's originally from New Guinea, spread across the world by ancient sailors, then became a huge commodity driving global trade, colonization, and tragically, slavery and forced labor, especially from the 18th century onwards. Its impact on global history and economies is profound.
It's wild to think about the journey of something so commonplace. How big is sugarcane production today?
It's enormous. Sugarcane is the world's largest crop by quantity produced. Brazil is the king, producing like 40% of the world's total. And sugarcane accounts for roughly 79% of all the sugar produced globally. Plus, increasingly, it's used to make biofuel, ethanol. That's becoming a huge market too.
So massive economic impact. What about the health side, beyond the obvious, eat less sugar?
Well, the standard nutritional advice hasn't really changed. Moderation is key. Strong links to obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease. And interestingly, there's a detail in the source about how soil health can affect food quality more broadly.
How so?
It mentions phosphorus deficiency in soil. If beans, for example, are grown in phosphorus-poor soil, they actually end up with lower levels of amino acids and sugars themselves. So the nutritional value of the bean decreases. It's a reminder that how food is grown impacts its quality, not just for sugar crops, but across the board.
That is interesting. It connects everything back to the source. And high sugar intake itself can displace other nutrients, right?
Definitely. If you're filling up on sugary foods, you're likely missing out on more nutrient-dense options. And then there are the environmental concerns with large-scale sugarcane farming, water use, land use, deforestation, impact on biodiversity. Sustainability is a big issue.
So considering that whole journey, historical, economic, health, environmental, it does kind of make you look at that sugar packet a bit differently, doesn't it?
It really should.
Okay, final topic. Let's shift to energy, powering our future. The last headline is from Al Jazeera on MSN.com. Renewable energy hits global tipping point for even lower costs, UN says.
Now, this is exciting news.
Right. Imagine clean energy not just being the right choice for the planet, but actually the cheapest choice. Are we really there at that tipping point?
It certainly looks that way, according to the UN and a lot of energy analysts. The main reason. The costs of renewable technologies, solar panels, wind turbines, had just plummeted.
Yeah, dramatically.
Combine that with supportive public policies and, frankly, political will in key places. Think Germany, Denmark, Spain. They've really pushed things forward. The International Energy Agency is predicting renewables could hit 35% of global power by 2025. That's huge progress.
So policy really matters here.
Oh, absolutely. Big, ambitious targets like Germany's Energiewende, their energy transition, or Denmark aiming for 100% renewable energy by 2050. Those create the stability and incentives needed for massive investment and innovation.
And it's not just about individual countries acting alone, is it? There's talk of global trade in renewable energy.
Yes, and that's where some new tools come in. A study introduced these new metrics to figure out the potential for trading renewable energy globally. One is basically the renewable levelized cost of energy available for export. Let's call it the export cost potential. Yeah. RLKOEX, if you want the acronym. And the other is potential energy export volume, or PEV. These look at a country's resources, its own energy needs, the costs, and try to map out who could be a big exporter, maybe like the U.S. or China, and who might need to import.
Can you give an example of how this plays out?
Sure. There was a study mentioned focusing on Barbados. It showed that even for a small island nation, aiming for 100% renewable energy could actually be economically smart.
Cheaper in the long run.
Potentially,
Yep.
Yes. The levelized cost of electricity could decrease as they build out renewables. So it hits multiple goals. Climate action, but also economic diversification and energy security, reducing reliance on expensive imported fossil fuels.
So 100% renewables isn't just an environmental dream. It's becoming an economic reality.
That's the trajectory. It tackles climate change, pollution, energy security all at once.
Yeah.
The idea is to use renewables for everything, electricity, heating, transport, by linking those sectors smartly. It cuts emissions, boosts resilience, creates sustainable growth.
And technology keeps improving, driving those costs down further.
Constantly. Solar, wind, but also energy storage batteries are key. And researchers are working on next-gen stuff too, like advanced biofuels, maybe even ocean energy. There are challenges, of course, getting the infrastructure right for global trade, the fact that sun and wind aren't everywhere equally.
Yeah, sure.
But the potential is massive. These advancements and the ability to identify who can produce surplus clean energy cheaply, it opens up huge opportunities for international cooperation.
It really feels like a fundamental shift, thinking about this global energy transformation. What possibilities does that open up for you personally? How could it reshape things?
Big questions.
Wow. Okay. We've covered a lot of ground today. From supermarket pricing tech, the real deal on plant protein, listening to your body's signals, the whole story of cane sugar, and now this this potential tipping point in global energy.
Quite the mix.
We really hope this deep dive, pulling from consumers.app and their Consumers 360 commentary, has sparked some thoughts, maybe given you a new angle on things.
Yeah, it really highlights how interconnected everything is and how important it is to look beyond the headlines sometimes and stay informed.
Definitely. So as you go about your week, maybe mull this over. In this absolute flood of information we live in, how do you filter it? How do you decide what really matters for understanding your world and maybe shaping your future? What's the next thing you're curious about?